welcome to Down the Vent. My name's Joe.
I'm Emily.
And today we're taking a look at a new cooperative dice game published by Ravensburger, designed by Chris Leader, Kevin Rogers, and Ken Franklin, called Back to the Future Dice Through Time. In this cooperative dice game, we are attempting to find the items that are dispensed amongst the 4 different timelines and return them to their proper location in time. So we have 1885, 1955, 1985, and 2015. I'm going to say these wrong lots of times, I'm sure, because I don't know, I'm just bad at dates. So our goal is to return these to their proper location in time before we run out of time. So if this out of time marker here ever gets to the 12 spot, we lose the game instantly. Notice that these are little standees, the biffs are as well. We're just laying them down sideways, so it's a little bit easier for you all to see on the camera. Yeah, just a little bit easier. So this game is set up for 2 players. We have shuffled all the event cards, we have all the Einstein tokens shuffled, we have all of our paradox tokens here, and then I took the blue player, or the blue car, which starts in 1955, and Emily took the pink car, or purpley pink.
That's pink.
It's pink? Okay.
That's pink.
Which starts in 2015. All the cars will start at the clock tower in their respective year, and the biffs start where they are right now. The game's pretty easy. It plays in 6 phases, each round does. So the first phase, you're going to draw and place event cards. The second phase, you're going to roll dice. Everyone just rolls at the same time. The third phase, you're going to perform actions, and you're just going to take all the actions that you have available. And then the fourth phase, we're going to advance the out-of-time marker. The fifth phase is add paradox tokens, and then the sixth phase is simply passing the first player token. Right now, I have the first player token because the person who has traveled through time the most is the first player, simply the oldest person.
Not upset.
Which is me.
Not upset.
We're going to get started, though, with the game and just explain the dice and the events as everything comes. So the first thing we're going to do is draw and place event cards. So you're going to draw 3 because we're playing with 2 players. You draw more events if you're playing with more players. So we'll draw the 3 events, and we reveal one at a time in the order they were drawn. So the first one is Doc readies the DeLorean for rail travel, which goes to the blacksmith shop in 1885. So that's going to go right here. I want to pause for a second, though, and actually explain what these events do. So these events are going to come out to the different locations throughout the timelines. You'll notice that they'll all have icons in the top left corner. This one has a wrench. The dice will be used to actually complete these events. So all the symbols that are on the cards in the top left corner are on these dice. So this one needs a wrench to be completed. So you'll need a wrench die to be able to complete this event. There are some other events that we'll cover when they come out, and then there are other events like this as well that will go out to locations that have a little biff icon in the top right. It looks like a chicken. We'll show you that once one comes out, but that simply moves that biff will move to that location if that event comes out. So no biff icon, so that event gets played to the blacksmith shop, and we'll move on to the next one. The next event is Griff tries to recruit Marty Jr. in Cafe 80s 2015, so that's going to go right here. And the last event is Marty and the Pinheads audition for the dance Hillbilly High in 1985, and look at that, this one has the biff icon right there, so we're going to place this at Hillbilly High in 1985, and biff is going to move to that location. So now that we're done with that first phase, draw and place event cards, we are going to all roll our dice. And then you just go into taking actions. You do use all of your dice, take all your actions on your turn. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my actions. So I'm going to start off by using the Flux Capacitor die that I rolled here. The Flux Capacitor will allow you to travel through time, not locations, up and down the board though. So I can either go to 1885, 1985, or 2015 at the clock tower and just go to one of those locations using that die. I do not want to go to 2015 though, because if you ever enter the same space as another player, then you have to move the out-of-time tracker to the right, because we're causing some space-time continuum mess up, and that's just bad news for everyone. So I'm going to use my Flux Capacitor to move to 1985. Now that I've used that Flux Capacitor, I'm going to use the arrow. The arrow icon actually allows you to travel to any location in your current timeline. So from the clock tower, I can go to the Twin Pines Mall, Doc's Lab, Marty's house, or Hill Valley High School. So I'm going to go ahead and travel to Hill Valley High School. Now that I'm here, I can use the fist icon to actually remove Biff from my space. Removing Biff is important because if Biff is at a location, you cannot complete events and you cannot return items. So he's just bad all around to be there. He's going to stop you from doing anything productive. So I'm going to move him over here to the Twin Pines Mall from now, just to get him out of the way. Hopefully nothing comes up there for a while. And now that I got him cleared off here, I do have a Doc Brown token, or die left. And usually these are used to remove paradox tokens, which we currently don't have on the board. You can also discard a die to move one location left or right. I don't really want to move a location because I'm at the location of the event, so I can try and finish it next turn. So what I'm going to do is this other cool thing that you can do on your turn with your dice. You can leave an artifact in time. So I can ripple this die and allow someone else to use it on a future turn. That means anyone can come to Hill Valley High in 1985 or any location below it, so to Hilldale in 2015, and use that die as if it was their own. Someone in 1955 and 1885 could not use it there though, because it wasn't there in the past. It's there in 85 in the future. So, but if I was in 1985 or 1885 and I left the die there, anyone could use it further down in history, or into the future, not further down in history, further into the future, as it rippled through time. But since I'm in 1885 or 1985, I have to leave it there, and that's going to be the last thing I can do on my turn, and it'll become Emily's turn now.
Okay, so I need to move over, but I don't have a die to do that. So I am going to discard the lightning bolt because I don't need to use that this turn. And that enables me to move one space left or right, so I'm going to get on to that spot. I need to use my fist to punch Biff out of the way, and I'm going to just send him to the blast from the past. Again, hoping that nothing shows up there. And so, oops, I moved my fist. And so the last thing that I need to solve this event is a Doc Brown, but I don't have that.
Right. So what she does have though is the wrench icon on one of her die, and the special ability of this die is that it counts as any icon to complete an event. Only to complete an event, not for all of their other special actions. It's not a completely wild. It's only wild for completing events.
So I'm going to use that, solve that event.
Yep. And when we solve an event, it comes off the board. If there are multiple events at a location, you do have to be able to solve all of them on the same turn, or in your same action, and then they would all be removed. And then if you clear all the events from a location, you get to draw an item card from that year.
And the item card I drew is the stove door, which needs to go to the saloon in 1885.
So I'll just show that here real quick. So here's the stove door card. It tells you what year it came from or needs to be returned to, and then what location as well. And then she's just going to go ahead and put that on her player board right there.
And I have a flux capacitor left. So I'm actually going to use that to take me up to 1885. So hopefully I can solve that event and return my item next turn.
Yep, and she is at the saloon where the item needs to be returned, but because the Biff token is there, it cannot be returned. I do want to point out, since Emily has collected an item, that we have 2 slots on our player board here to hold items. That is because you can only ever hold 2 items at a time. You can still complete events, you just won't get to draw the item if you already have 2 on your player board. So, important to note, but yeah. So we're done with the actions phase because Emily's used all of her dice and mine are done as well. So we're going to move on to the advanced out of time marker. To advance the out of time marker, we're going to look at every year and see which year has the most locations covered by events. Not the most events, because multiple events can come out to the same location. So there could be 3 blacksmith cards here, but two locations covered here. So we're just looking at the year that has the most locations covered. So 1885 and 1985 are currently tied. Since they are tied, we just go to the year that is earliest in history, so 1885, and we advance the out-of-time tracker one spot for every location that's covered by an event. So one location covered, one advance of the out-of-time tracker. And then the next phase is to add paradox tokens. So now you're going to add a paradox token to every location that's covered by an event in the year that you had just advanced the out-of-time tracker for. So we advanced the out-of-time tracker because of 1885, so we'll add a paradox token to every location that is covered by an event in that year, as long as it doesn't already have one. So that is important to note that you can never have more than one paradox token at a location. So that's it for now. Last part of the phase is pass the first player marker, and then we're going to go to the top of the round, so Emily's going to go ahead and draw 3 more event cards.
So I've got Doc builds the DeLorean and Doc's Lab in 1985. I've got a yellow card.
So this is an immediate event. So this says, what are you looking at? So this has like a one-time action. Sometimes they last the entire round. It's kind of hard there to see because of the green screen. But essentially, this isn't an event that'll go out to one of the locations. This is an event that has some special ability. We do that, and then it gets discarded, or it lasts for the entire round, and then it gets discarded. So this one says, what are you looking at? Add a paradox token to each of Biff's locations with an event that does not already have a paradox token in it. So we're going to look at every one of the Biffs through time, and if they're at a location with an event, we would add a paradox token. We lucked out. None of the Biffs are at a location with a event, mostly because we moved them, the ones that were. So that just gets discarded with no effect.
And my last one is Doc builds the DeLorean again.
Oh boy.
But harder version.
Yep.
In Doc's Lab.
So now Doc's Lab in 1985 has 2 cards on it, which require 3 total icons to complete, or dice. So it's going to be a pretty difficult one to complete. But now we're going to roll our dice. And then Emily is going to take her actions.
So, to be able to drop off my item at the saloon, I would need to have a fist to remove Biff.
Correct.
I don't. I also don't have 2 of the exact same die, so I can't trade them in for a fist.
Yes, and that is something we actually haven't covered yet because no one's rolled doubles. So if you have 2 of the same die, you have the Mr. Fusion ability on your board here, where you can turn 2 of the same icon into any icon you need. So if you rolled 2 lightning bolts, you could discard those and use them as a Flux Capacitor or something else.
But I don't have that, so I'm actually going to have to ditch my saloon plan, and I'm going to use my arrows, which allow me to move any way, left or right, in my time, and come over here to the blacksmith.
Okay.
The blacksmith needs a wrench to solve its event. I have a wrench, so I'm going to use my wrench to solve that event.
And she's able to solve the event because the Biff token is not there. And when you solve an event, the paradox token would be removed from the location as well. So you don't have to worry about taking care of that.
And I get an item because I solved an event, and I only have 1 so far, and it is the power laces, which need to go to 2015.
Yes.
So that leaves me with Doc Brown and
what is the last one? A Flux Capacitor?
A Flux Capacitor.
Right.
So
And we haven't covered what the special ability of the Doc Brown token is yet, so we'll just cover that real quick right now. It allows you to remove 2 paradox tokens from the board, anywhere on the board. It doesn't have to be in your time, in your location. You just use the Doc Brown die, and you can remove 2 paradox tokens from anywhere.
But I don't have paradox tokens, so I'm going to discard Doc Brown and move over to the schoolhouse, which is useless, except for my Flux Capacitor, which allows me to go anywhere through time, and I'm going to have it bring me way down here to the Skyway, which is where I need to return the power laces to, and since there's no Biff for an event, I can turn that in and get...
Yes. So now that we have returned an item, that is your main way of fighting this out-of-time tracker. So every time you restore some balance to the timeline, we're going to take the out-of-time by returning an item. You're going to take the out-of-time marker and move it 1 to the left. And you'll get an Einstein token. So an Einstein token is essentially these little tokens right here, and on the flip side, it has the icons that are found on the dice. The cool thing about Einstein Token is that they're out on the board for anyone to use on their turn. So you don't have to try to ripple the dice to the future for someone to use. You don't have to be at a specific location to use them. Anyone can say, hey, so we got an arrow. Anyone can say, hey, I really need to be able to move really far this turn. I'm going to grab that arrow and use it. It gets discarded from the game, and they get just like an extra action on their turn. So very helpful. Einstein is a good boy. And that's going to be the end of your actions, correct? Because you're all out of dice? Okay, so I'm going to start off by completing the events at Hill Valley High because I have the fist token or icon that is needed, so that's going to get discarded, and then I'll get to draw an item, which is the Smart Jacket, which needs to go back to the Cafe 80s in 2015. What do I need to do now? Well, I can move over there, but that's not going to do me any good because I don't have 2 wrenches to complete that. That's a tough one.
Can you return with your flux capacitor and stuff?
I could, yeah. So I guess I'll do that. I'll use the flux capacitor to travel to 2015. We're getting dangerously close here. If we end up at the same location, we're going to throw some funkiness into the timeline. And I'm going to discard Doc Brown to go over to Cafe 80s. And then because I have the Smart Jacket and I'm in Cafe 80s and Biff is not there, I can turn in that item, which is going to move the out-of-time marker back one again, but it's at 0 already, so it can't move. And we're going to reveal another Einstein token, and we got a Flux Capacitor now. So now we have 2. Yeah, that's really good.
That's a good one.
For the last item, I think I may use this to move to Blast from the Past. So me and Emily are right next to each other.
Close now.
But hopefully if I have the dice I need to complete this event.
You always have a dice.
Yeah, I can Flux Capacitor to the 80s. I get to go first next turn anyways. So, yeah. So now we finish this round. So we advance the out-of-time marker. We're going to look at all the years. Only 1 year has events on it. We're doing a good job keeping time clean. So we're going to advance the out-of-time marker 1. And then we're going to add a Paradox token to Doc's lab in 1985. Yeah, so that's the end of that round. We're going to pass the first player token here and then draw 3 events. Do that first. Okay, so the first event is Griff tries to recruit Marty at Cafe 80s in 2015. The next event is Doc invents the Flux Capacitor at his mansion in 1955. And the last one is Enchantment Under the Sea's dance in 1955 at Hill Valley High. Oops. There we go. Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and roll our dice now. Alright, well I got a Flux Capacitor. I'm missing a wrench though, darn. Okie dokie. So I am going to Flux Capacitor back to 1955 then. And then I'll use the wrench to complete this event here that needs the wrench. That event will get discarded and I'll get to draw an item from 1955. And right now there's only 2 items per location. That's because we're playing on easy, or per timeline. That's because we're playing on easy mode. You can go all the way up to 5 items per location if you aren't chicken. So, just to note. So I received Claras Telescope, which needs to be returned to 1885 at the schoolhouse. Where is the schoolhouse at? One to the right. Okay. Well, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use the arrow to move over to the Hill Valley High School. And I'm going to use the fist to go ahead and move Biff off of that location. I'll move to the clock tower for now. And that's going to be it for my turn.
Okay. So, even though I have an arrow here, I'm going to use my Einstein Token arrow to be able to move me over here to the Cafe 80s.
And when you use an Einstein Token, it just gets removed from the game. It doesn't get added back to the pile or anything like that.
And then I'm going to solve that event with my wrench and arrow.
Yep. So that'll get removed from the game, or discarded.
And then I solved that, and there's no Biff, so I get the last item for 2015, which is a clock tower flyer. It has to go back to 1985.
Yep.
So that's at the clock tower. I'm actually going to use my flux capacitor to move me up to 1985. And then I'm going to discard my Doc Brown to move one place to the clock tower. And since there's no event and there's no biff, I'm going to just drop that off straight away.
Yes. Alright, so that's going to reduce our out-of-time tracker by 1 again. And we're going to draw another Einstein token here. And we got the fist icon. The last die we haven't covered yet is the lightning bolt. So lightning bolt, we haven't really rolled any yet and needed them. So lightning bolt, if you discard that die, you can choose any of your remaining dice that you don't want, and you can re-roll them. So say I rolled, I don't know, 3 lightning bolts and a flux capacitor. I wanted to keep the flux capacitor, but not the 3 lightning bolts. I could, you know, use my lightning bolt and re-roll the other 2 dice and see what I get. So now you know what every die special ability is, or every icon special ability is. So. But that's going to be it for this turn, right? You were done with all your actions?
I'm done.
Okay, so we're going to advance to the out-of-time marker. So we're going to look at how, which location, or which year has the most locations covered. Again, it's a tie. So we just go to the year that has the earliest year, which is 1955, which has 1 location covered. And then we add a paradox token there. If you ever advance and there's paradox tokens there, they actually get added to the value, so it would be like 1 plus 1 now if 1955 got added again and these 2 things were still there, so it actually advanced 2 instead of 1. But that's it. So we're going to go to the revealing. Oh yeah, this gets past Emily, and now we'll go to the events phase.
First one is another yellow card. It says remove all paradox tokens from the board.
Yes.
So a helpful one.
We got George and Lorraine to kiss. Haha! We're fixing time.
Skateboard Chase in Courthouse Square, which goes to Lou's Cafe in 1955. And my last event is Marty and Jennifer take a walk in Clock Tower in 1985. How convenient that I'm there.
And that one has a Biff icon on it, so Biff will actually move to that location as well. So
Biff ruins everything.
Biff does ruin everything. But now we're going to go ahead and roll our dice. Okay, okay.
So, weirdly, I rolled pairs. So, I'm going to switch in 2 arrows to act as a fist and bop Biff out of here.
Yep.
I'm going to move him over here because that whole row is empty right now.
Yep.
And then I need a Doc Brown. I don't have a Doc Brown, but I have 2 lightning bolts I don't want. So I'm going to Mr. Fusion those as a Doc Brown and solve that event.
Yep. Good old
Which
Mr.
gets
Fusion.
me the last item from 1985, which is a hoverboard that has to go to the Clock Tower Mall in 2015.
Yes.
And I could flux capacitor down there now, but I might hang out in 1985 to solve those.
Okay.
So I'm good.
Okay. So. So the Hill Valley High School event needs a fist and an arrow to be completed.
Have an arrow?
I don't have an arrow. I have 2 flux capacitors I could turn into an arrow. I don't have the fist either, but I could use that fist, I guess. No.
Might as well. You got a bet?
Yep.
Items to take.
Or I guess I have this that I can use, the wrench that I could use as well, instead of using that icon. But then my Doc Brown, well, I can use it too. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use my...
Lots of options
Yep,
with the dice.
there are, yeah. So I'm going to use my wrench to just count as the fist. I'm going to turn in my 2 flux capacitors to count as the arrow, thanks to Mr. Fusion. So that will complete this event, removing it from the board, and giving me the last item from 1955, which is Marty's skateboard, which needs to go back to his house in 1985. And then for my Doc Brown token, I am actually going to discard that to move to the right one. So that way, hopefully I can be prepared to take out... Well, actually, I need to start turning some events or some items in, because completing events isn't going to be good anymore.
Nope.
Unless we can get these items turned in too.
Ditto.
So that ends our perform action phase. So we're going to move to advance the out of time marker. We're going to look again. It's still a tie. So we're just going to go with 1955 because this is the earliest year. And then we're going to add another paradox token to that location.
Pass the first place.
Yep. Go back to revealing.
Your events.
Okay, event 1. Doc falls in love with Clara at the schoolhouse in 1885. Marty buys a sports almanac from Blast from the Past in 2015. Shame, Marty. And your future is whatever you make it. Immediately reduce the out-of-time tracker by 2. Holy cow, that is a great event.
That is.
So far, all these events have been pretty good for us. There are some bad ones in here, I promise. There's some that jolt you through time. You saw the one that could possibly add more paradox tokens, so we're just getting lucky.
Take away Mr. Fusion.
Yeah, some that take away Mr. Fusion, which makes you very sad. Alright, so now we're going to roll our dice. Oh boy, alright. Let's see here. I don't think I need... Well, I need to return things, don't I? Where do you need to go? The future or the past? Okay.
I'm going to try and hit up both. I'm going to try and hit up there to drop off my hoverboard, but then shoot back up.
Okay.
And hang out in 1885 for a hot minute.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to Flux Capacitor to 1985 and return Marty's skateboard to his house in that year, which is going to reduce our out-of-time tracker and give us another Einstein token, which is the Doc Brown symbol. Excellent. So now we only have items left in 1885. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually turn in these 2 lightning bolts to become a flux capacitor to travel to 1885. And I need to go to the schoolhouse to return this to Clara. So are you going to be able to do that or no?
You can go to the schoolhouse if you want.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my arrow die to zoom over to the schoolhouse. And that'll be my turn.
I am going to use my flux capacitor to take me down to the Clock Tower Mall so that I can return the hoverboard.
Yep. So we're going to get another Einstein token, and the out-of-time tracker is already reduced.
And cool, because I need another flux capacitor to shoot me all the way back to 1885. And I got to stay in my column.
Yep.
Which means that I need to use my arrow.
Okay.
Or I could have discarded something, but I don't really need to move around a lot. So just shoot over here. And then I was going to use Einstein, but I have my own fist to bop Biff out of the way.
Or Mad Dog Tannen.
Or Mad Dog Tannen. And return the stove door to the salon.
Alright, and we're going to get another Einstein token. It's another Doc Brown symbol.
And I have got 1 die left. Don't really need it for anything. I could discard it and go left or right. There's no event that I can use it to solve, so I'm just going to let it hang out and kind of ripple through time.
Yeah. So now that's the end of the perform action space, so we're going to advance the out-of-time tracker. Luckily, all 4 are tied still, even though all of them have events now. So we're going to advance it for 1885, one spot, and then add a paradox token to that year. And then we're going to pass the first player marker, and then we're going to draw and place event cards. So go ahead, 3 of them.
First one is Great Scott. After rolling dice this round, all players must re-roll all Flux Icon results. Keep the second result.
Oh, Great Scott indeed.
Skateboard chase in Courthouse Square. So that is now, it needs to get solved.
Yep, and it's got a Biff icon, so now it's even harder because Biff is there checking it out.
And last one is the McCoy Family has rehydrated pizza in 2015.
Yep. Alright, so we're going to re-roll our dice. Remembering that if we get any flux icons, we must re-roll them and keep the second result. Oh, I got 1 flux capacitor icon, so...
I've got a ton of wrenches.
Holy cow. Oh, okay, so I got a wrench as well. I have 2 wrenches too, so...
So... It's my turn first.
Yes.
We're done with this.
Yes, that is over now.
I am going to use a lot of Einstein this round.
Okay.
So I'm going to use the flux capacitor first to shoot me down to Lou's Cafe.
Okay.
And then I have my own fist. I'm going to use the Bop Biff. We'll move him over there. And then, well, I guess I only need the Doc Brown. So there's 2 wrench and 1 Doc Brown because I have to solve all of them. So I have those, but I don't have a Doc Brown.
You can use your wrench because its special ability is to be anything on a...
Oh, well then there you go.
Yep.
Do that.
So your 3 wrenches were actually really good.
It looked weird, but it helped out. which removes the paradox token.
Yep.
There are no events for me to get in 1955, but I hopefully saved us some time.
Yes. So now on my turn, I'm going to complete this event at the schoolhouse because I have an arrow and a wrench. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually, I'm going to save the arrow. I'm going to use 2 wrenches on that, just in case I need to move somewhere. So the 2 wrenches will complete this event and remove the paradox token at that location.
Last item.
And I will get the last item for the game, which is the makeshift skateboard that needs to go to 1955. Because I am at the schoolhouse and there's no BIF or event there anymore, I can return Claras Telescope, which will reduce our out-of-time tracker by 1. And give me another Einstein token. Come on, be something good. Ooh,
yeah.
A Flux Capacitor. Excellent. So the last item here that we need to return to save time needs to go to the clock tower in 1955. So I'm going to use this Einstein Token, Flux Capacitor token to move to 1955. I'm going to use my arrow icon to move to the clock tower, and I'm going to turn in the last item, saving the day.
Boom.
And we win the game. That is the easiest version of Back to the Future, the dice game, or Dice Through Time, sorry. It's a pretty fun, solid co-op dice game.
Nice, quick, easy.
Yes.
A lot of options.
Yes.
You're never stuck.
Yes, because you can discard any die to move, and because of Mr. Fusion, even if you don't get a roll that's ideal for your turn, you are able to, and the rippling through time with 4 players, that would be really, really helpful to be able to play, especially if someone's in 1885 just leaving their dice for people in the future. Oh my gosh, that'd be so powerful. So lots of options, even if you don't roll what you need that turn to still, in Einstein too helps out with those, to just get stuff done that you need to get done, or to help keep the time, keep from running out of time. So real solid, really enjoyable game. I like it. So that's going to be it for our playthrough. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them. And if you made it this far, you might as well subscribe and like the video, right? Until next time, though, my name is Joe.
I'm Emily.
And you've been watching Down the Vent. Goodbye!